Yo guys, it's KC3. Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about 3 reasons why Wilt Chamberlain is the GOAT. I hope you guys do enjoy. If you do, make sure to smash the like button, subscribe if you're new, and let's get into this. The only argument people have against Wilt is competition and championships. Wilt only versed one good center and couldn't even beat him. That's what we hear all the time, but this is a myth. The talent Wilt had to verse was actually some of the best centers of all time. To the people who mention championships, Wilt played against the best team ever put together, the '60 Celtics, when there was no salary cap or free agency. It was like the Golden State Warriors, but way worse. When Wilt finally got talent around him and a competent coach, he did the thing that no one else could do. He beat the Celtics easily. During their head-to-head matchups, Wilt would kill Russell, Wilt averaging 29.9 points and 28.2 rebounds, and Russell only averaging 14.2 points and 22.9 rebounds. And when the media said Russell was a better rebounder, Wilt got 55 rebounds against the man and set the all-time record. The competition Wilt went against was among the best the center positions has ever had in any given time frame, with Hall of Famers everywhere, such as Bob Pettit, Walt Bellamy, Dolph Schayes, Elgin Baylor, Willis Reed, John Havlicek, Wes Unseld, Louis Alcindor, and obviously Bill Russell, along with plenty of other solid players. Wilt had to verse these guys every single night, with only 8 teams being in the league, so there was no games where Wilt could just stat pad against a bunch of scrubs, like LeBron did against the Bobcats scoring 61, and how Jordan used to. He didn't score 50 points a game against easy players. He did it against people in the Hall of Fame. When you break records, you're a great. When you break the game, you are the GOAT. Wilt broke the game in so many ways it was ridiculous. Wilt had multiple rule changes to prevent him from dominating, such as dunking from the free throw line. When he played, there was no rule that prevented you from jumping over the free throw line until Wilt decided that his poor free throw shooting wasn't good enough and figured out a way to make all of his free throws by running up and dunking from the free throw line. The NBA realized how overpowered this was and decided to ban it. Another few rule changes that occurred was back in Wilt's time, there was no offensive goaltending, so he would just tap it in while it was still on the ring, and there was nothing the defense could do to stop him. The NBA also widened the key area and added a 3-second rule, so he couldn't just sit in the middle and dunk on everyone. When Wilt Chamberlain played, the rules were different in many ways to how it is now. Wilt Chamberlain wasn't allowed to back down defenders at all, as they could call charges on the slightest bit of contact. Compared to today, where players can get away with a lot on offense, as you can only see at most 2 or 3 offensive fouls a game. The rules in Wilt's time were trying to help the defense out, and Wilt himself has even pointed this out.
As they call fouls, though, today, Shaq gets away with what I would consider murder.
So they let him go?
Yeah, I mean, I would think that when you dip your shoulder and you run over top of a guy and the foul's called on the guy laying on the floor, you're getting away with something. So Shaq is allowed maybe to score some points that maybe he wouldn't get.
Lakers trying to close out Chicago here, leading 3-2. Chamberlain working against 4 window and no basket. Foul Chamberlain at 4. In the play. Think you have him beat, and he's able to recover. Uh-oh, that's very close to an offensive foul. I'll take Greg Popovich. He is...
The NBA changed its rules to prevent Wilt from dominating as much as they could. He still averaged 50 though. On the other side of things, the NBA changed the rules to allow Jordan's ball-carrying, step-taking, palming game to prosper. Isaiah Thomas has even said this.
I think that the NBA has swung too far in terms of the small guy. All the rules favor the small player. So you missed your era. Credit for a lot of things because we were up against the era where Jordan came in and the rules started to change.
If the rules were enforced as they were in the 1960s, Jordan would not have been as great. The NBA wanted as much money as they could get because MJ was the most entertaining player of all time, not the greatest. The NBA has emphasized offensive play in the rule changes over the last 2 decades, removing hand checking and making it almost impossible for players to defend without foul. What everyone talks about with Wilt Chamberlain's stats are his 100-point game, him averaging 50 points per game in a season and 30 rebounds per game for a season. But there are a lot of things that Wilt did that is rarely talked about or even known. Wilt had a 48-inch vertical, which is higher than Michael Jordan and LeBron James. Wilt could touch the top of the backboard, and this contributed in him blocking an insane amount of shots. There was only 112 NBA games where Wilt's blocks were recorded. In those games, he averaged 8.8 blocks per game. Some of these games was in the latest stages of his career, where he was only getting 4 or 5 blocks, which is still impressive, but it is extremely likely he would have averaged 10 plus blocks per game. Wilt is widely known for his scoring, but he also is the best passing big man of all time, with him nearly averaging a triple-double in one season with averages of 24.3 points per game, 23.8 rebounds per game, and 8.6 assists per game. To put that into perspective, LeBron's best assists season is 9.1 per game. In this miraculous season, Wilt had a game that, just like his 100-point game, will never be matched. He had 20 points, 20 rebounds, and 20 assists in one game. Wilt was also a track star in college. In college, Wilt won the Big 7 high jump championship 3 years in a row. He could clear 6'6", which is just over 2 meters. He ran 100-yard dash in under 11 seconds, and he ran the 40-yard dash in 4.6 seconds barefoot. This is the same time as LeBron James with shoes on. Wilt also was the strongest NBA player of all time, with countless stories of him manhandling his opponents, and he could deadlift 625 pounds and bench press 500 pounds, as he used to lift weights with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Wilt Chamberlain was another one that I met and trained with. Wilt Chamberlain.
You trained with Wilt Chamberlain?
Yeah, Wilt Chamberlain would be in the gym. We eventually ended up doing a movie together.
Yeah, Conan.
Conan the Destroyer, exactly. Yeah. But yeah, I was a big fan of his because he came to the gym and he would do a tricep extension that, like, the big guys, the strongest guys, would do, let's say, 120 pounds, let's say, tricep extension, putting down, right? He would come and he would do 150, 170 pounds, Wilt Chamberlain. That's how strong he was.
Which was well over what Shaq could ever lift. So overall, Wilt was a player who was as fast as LeBron, had the strength of Shaq, and the vertical of Jordan. Not to mention the scoring of Jordan, the passing of LeBron, and the best rebounder and shot blocker of all time. This is why Wilt Chamberlain is the greatest basketball player of all time. Wilt is the GOAT.
In my eye, Wilt Chamberlain is the greatest basketball player.